Hi, my name is Alex Parker. I'm a senior product manager here at Replicated, and today I'm going to talk to you about a new feature that we're developing for the Replicated platform to allow you to deliver your application as a Helm chart to your customers and allow them to install it directly using a Helm install command. So this Helm installation is currently an alpha feature that we're continuing to develop and build. And for a little bit of background on why we're building this, if you want to deliver an application as a Helm chart to your customers, Helm isn't a solution in and of itself. There's a lot of stuff that Helm can do, and there's a lot of gaps that it has as well that Replicated hopes to fill. So you can distribute a chart and your values YAML to install that application into the customer's environment, but that's only going to support public images, or you're going to have to manually create and distribute secrets out of band to each of your individual customers. There's no support for air gap installation. There's no pre-flight checks that run before the application's installed. There's no support bundles to help gather troubleshooting and diagnostic information from the environment in the event of an issue that needs to be troubleshooted. Whereas with Replicated, you get release channels so that you can develop your application at a cadence and promote things through the appropriate release channels. You have support for licensed access of private images so that when someone is no longer a customer, you can revoke their access and they'll no longer be able to pull those images. You have pre-flight checks to verify the environment before the application's installed, support bundles. You have a UI-based configuration where you can validate input and give your customers a nice place to configure the application before they install it. There's update checks to check for updates to the application, and air gap installation. And these are two things that we're working on and developing right now, but part of the eventual solution that we're building out. So our Helm solution is that a vendor creates a Helm chart using only Helm tooling, and then they should be able to distribute that Helm chart to all of their customers regardless of their customer circumstances. So customers who want a plain Helm CLI install and just run Helm install, they should be able to do that. Customers want the UI-based KOTS install that people are familiar with. If you're familiar with Replicated, you can do that with the same Helm chart. Or if customers don't have Kubernetes and have a machine that they need Kubernetes installed on first, that's possible with our embedded cluster option, and then the Helm chart can be installed there as well. And then the goal is for all of these to work for an air gap installation as well. So our design is to support the Helm charts without modifying the templates. So we're not extending or modifying Helm in any way, but this is truly native Helm support so that when an end user, one of your customers, does a Helm install command, they are pulling a actual valid Helm chart and values file and installing that into their environment. We plan to continue to support air gap and embedded installations along with our current UI-based installation mechanism. So this is another option, another way that you can meet your customers where they're at and give them a direct Helm install command if that is what fits their policies and their preferences. And the idea is to be able to package the application one time and distribute that same packaged application to all of your customers regardless of their circumstances. So let's jump into a demonstration. So I have an application called Alex Echo Server Helm. It's just a basic Echo Server application that's packaged as a Helm chart. Go to my releases and we'll dive into this a little bit. If you're not familiar with how to create a release and include a Helm chart in that release with Replicated, that's something we've supported for some time. So check out our documentation. I'm not going to go through that today, but I've already created a release and included a Helm chart in it. And I'll just talk about a few things here. One is that I'm still able to use the Replicated custom resources to configure the application, the configuration, the pre-flight checks, the support bundle. So I can include all of these inside of this Helm packaged application and still deliver these and get this value when I send this application to my customer. Now inside of the Helm chart itself, we'll start with the chart YAML. This is just a basic chart.yaml file for a Helm chart. What I'll note here is that I've added a dependencies field and added the Replicated admin console version 1.78.0 as a dependency chart. So we've actually packaged the admin console as a Helm chart, and you're able to include that Helm chart as a dependency so that when a customer installs the application, your application, into their environment, the admin console will also get installed as a sidecar to be used in addition. So because in this model, Helm is managing the life cycle of the application, installing and upgrading using the Helm CLI, the admin console isn't doing that. So the admin console runs in what we'll call a Helm managed mode, where instead of managing the life cycle of the application, a deploy button that you click on to deploy an upgrade or things like that, it works more as a helper function to help you use Helm. So, and it provides a lot of replicated value adds on top of Helm. So you can check for updates, and we'll query our registry and see new versions of the chart that have been made available by the software vendor. There is, configuration, troubleshooting for support bundles, pre-flight checks, all kinds of things like that are still going to be built into this. But if you try to deploy an application, a new version, you have instead of a deploy button, you'll have a modal that'll give you the Helm upgrade command to run to upgrade to that version of the application. So it's still the admin console that you know and love, but it runs in a slightly different mode to work as a helper alongside of Helm while still providing a lot of replicated value add like snapshots and things like that. I have a values YAML, so this is just a standard Helm values YAML. And what I'll note in this file is that at the bottom, I've included my own value and used the license docker config template function. I won't dig too much into this, but I'll just say that I'm doing this because I'm actually able to use this template function to create image pull secrets that are specific to the customer in the customer's environment, so that when they pull the Helm chart, it creates pull secrets that authenticate them to private images that you've included inside of your application. So that's what this template function is doing, and it's used in some of the templates within the Helm chart. And then you have the KOTS.io Helm chart custom resource. And what I'll call out here is that we are using this value section here to be able to map replicated config options to the Helm values YAML. And what this does is it enables customers to go into the admin console, the Helm managed admin console, change configuration in a nice UI, and then use that to have a values YAML rendered for them. So we translate that replicated config to the values YAML so that they can use that values YAML to upgrade the application. And we'll see that a little bit more detail in a moment. I'll also go back to this channels page here, and you'll notice that whereas there's normally 2 tabs here at the bottom, there's now 3. So this one usually is called existing cluster. We've changed it to KOTS install. This is the normal KOTS install option that we have. There's embedded cluster if you want to use the Kubernetes installer to install Kubernetes first. And now you have also a Helm install option, assuming this is feature flag. So if the feature flag is turned on, you get this third option. Now in this case, there's no instructions immediately available because these instructions are customer specific. So we have to go to the customer list first and choose a customer in order to see the instructions. So we have a new field here called customer email. And this says, it's used as a username for the registry for Helm installs, and it's never used to send emails to customers. So we don't actually communicate with customers using this email. We just use it as a username. So I've got that plugged in there. And then we've got this Helm install instructions button at the top right. And this is going to give me the steps I run to actually install the application. So let's go ahead and use these. So first, I have to log into the registry. So this is going to authenticate me with the replicated registry using that email address as my username. And the key thing here is that the password is my license ID. So this is important because this is what uniquely identifies an end user when they pull a Helm chart from the registry. This allows us to render template functions that are used inside of the values YAML. We're able to render those in the context of this specific customer before we send the chart and the values YAML to the customer that's pulling it. So logging in using this license ID allows us to customize the installation for that particular customer. So I will log into the registry to start. And then the next step is to install the Preflight plugin. I already have it installed. Preflights aren't built into this initial step of the Helm installation flow because Helm is managing the lifecycle. There is no admin console installed at this point. So you can run the Preflights using our Preflight plugin. And to run those Preflights, you just run kubectl Preflight and then point that to the location of your release inside of the replicated registry. So when you promote a release to a channel, we push the Helm chart as well as the support bundle and the Preflight spec to our OCI registry so that they can be referenced from there. So in order to run these Preflight checks, all you have to do is point the kubectl Preflight plugin to your specific release inside of the replicated registry, and it will use that Preflight spec to run Preflight checks here. So I see that all of my checks have successfully passed, which is great. So we'll then move on to actually installing the application. Now, this is just a basic Helm install command. Name of my chart is echo server, and I've got the path to the chart here inside of the replicated registry. And I'm going to customize this, the values YAML here with 2 fields. So first I'm going to, and these are both specific to the admin console. So first I'm going to set the admin console password. So I need to have some password set so that I know how to log into the admin console once I've deployed it. And the second thing is the service type, how we're going to expose the admin console. And in this case, I'm using a GKE cluster, and I'm going to use a load balancer, and that will provision a load balancer to enable me to access the admin console. So I'm going to go ahead and run this Helm install command. And it should not take long before I have my application installed. And not only do I have my application installed, I also have the admin console installed in this Helm managed mode running as a kind of sidecar alongside of it. Now, if you didn't include the admin console, because that is an option, this flow can work without using the admin console at all. So if you just want to distribute the Helm chart to your customers, they get private image access and all template functions and all of these things, you can do that and stop right here. They've installed their application. They can change the values up and configure it as they want. You could stop right here. But since we have included the admin console as a dependency subchart, we'll dig into that too and see how that is useful. And again, this is totally optional, but we still think there's a lot of value in the admin console in this mode, so we'll show you how that works. So since I deployed this as a load balancer, I exposed the admin console with a load balancer service, I need to access it with that load balancer. So it takes a minute for the load balancer to come up, so we'll just give that a second before we're able to access the admin console. All right, so the load balancer is now available. I can see my external IP right here. So I'm going to copy that, and in my browser, just head over to that on port 3000, and I've got the admin console. I set this password when I deployed the application, so I'll log in. And now you'll see this looks very similar to the admin console that you're probably accustomed to seeing. Because it is largely the same. We've just ported some of the functionality to work a little bit differently in a Helm managed world. So I can see the version of my chart that I have deployed. This Echo Server chart, I have version 0.5.13 currently deployed. And most of this functionality should just continue to work as is. So you can check for updates to see if there's any updates available to the chart. You can see your license information and sync that license if there's any updates to the license to be had. And then we've got this redeploy button. Now, like I said before, the admin console isn't managing the lifecycle of the app, so this won't actually redeploy the application, but it will give you some helpful functions, some commands to run to log back into the registry with your license ID and then upgrade the application using the existing values just to redeploy this application. So this is an example of how the admin console works differently, but works as a helper to assist in upgrading and managing the application using Helm. Now, in addition to this basic functionality on the dashboard, we have the version history page, which looks very similar. If you're familiar with Helm, any revisions to the chart, so as you change your values YAML or upgrade the chart to a new chart version and you deploy a new revision, those revisions will show up here. Any new versions of the chart that are available will also show up here. And again, you've got these redeploy buttons to give you commands for deploying an upgraded version or redeploying or whatever it might be. We also have the config page. Now, like I said, since Helm is managing the lifecycle of the application, it's the values YAML that is ultimately the driver of the configuration for this installation. But in order to still give this nice UI-based configuration, I showed you that we used the Helm chart custom resource to map config options to values YAML fields. So I'm able to change my config right here. And instead of what you're used to seeing, saving the config and generating a new version of the application, I can generate an upgrade command. And what this does is it gives me the login command again, but it also gives me a new values YAML file. So this values YAML file has actually been rendered using my config options that I've entered here and the mapping that we defined inside of the Helm chart custom resource. So this gives customers the ability to use a UI-based configuration to configure the application, but then still deploy those changes with Helm using a values YAML. And then finally, we've got the troubleshoot page. And again, this is just the ability, it gives you the ability to generate support bundles and troubleshoot the application as you're accustomed to in the admin console normally. So that about wraps up the demo. To talk about where this is at currently, I mentioned that it's alpha, and what's ready is that you're able to distribute a Helm chart to all of your customers, regardless of their circumstances and preferences. There's Preflight checks and support bundles that can be run via the CLI. There's access to private images using the licensed Docker config template function that I referenced briefly. The admin console can be included as a subchart and run in this more limited mode as a helper. Adoption rate reporting is supported inside of the vendor portal to see which of your customers have pulled the different versions of your Helm chart. And then there's release channels as normal in the vendor portal. We're still working on air gap support, UI-based support bundles, and then the ability to completely alias the replicated registry domain so that instead of your end customer doing a Helm login to registry.replicated.com, they could do a Helm login to registry.mycompany.com, and that would give you the ability to, you could create a CNAME to reference the replicated registry, but have your customer typing in your custom domain instead, just to allow you to completely alias the replicated registry and make it appear like your own registry. Now, what we're asking for is that if you have customers who are asking for a Helm chart, who want to install a Helm chart directly using the Helm CLI, then please talk to us. We'll turn on this feature for you and help you deliver that Helm chart to these customers. And as we're actively building new functionality, we hope that you can help us as a design partner, that we can work together to build this in the right direction and make something great together for you and for your customers. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed the demo, and please be in touch if this is something that's of interest to you.